Hey, what's up? Hello. I got a blood on the Clocktower tier list here for the Outsiders. I think it's 23 of them. There's like 11 in this row, 11 in that row, and then one down here. That's 23. I'm going to rank them based off how I like them, how they help in building bags for the storyteller, their impact on the game, how fun they are to play, etc., etc. It's overall kind of general. No need to waste more time, though. Let's get right into it. I'll start with the classic Trouble Brewing Recluse. Oh, you can see the tiers here. S, I love it. A, it's pretty decent. B, it's good at being an outsider. C, it's a low impact. D, it's literally nothing. And then F is cabbage. Anyways, Recluse. I'm gonna go ahead, and I know how people feel like it's such a boring role, how it's a do nothing, how it's like really easy to counter because all it has to do is come out day one and then get executed and yada yada. I'm gonna put Recluse in A tier. Reason being, I have a couple reasons. One, there's so many fun and cool interactions with Recluse, whether it be like, you know, a Slayer shooting and killing, confirming both of themselves. Maybe not the Recluse, but at least confirming the Slayer. There's some other ones that I can't think of off the top of my head that aren't just information. But I do think that the Recluse, as like much of a, for the player itself, like you don't do much. For the storyteller, it's so good to have a Recluse because it muddies the information a lot. A lot. When you decide whether you're gonna make it good or bad. Maybe sometimes a little abused and maybe misused, which is why I put it in A. It's pretty decent because I don't see people, sometimes storytellers just don't, they overdo it. Sometimes they think it's a fix to a problem of like lacking misinformation or something, which it's, in my opinion, not really. Like, it's good, but you definitely still want reasoning for misinformation. And I think, again, I can't put it in S tier because it's not a fun role to play as. You can try your best to have fun with it. People might get mad at you if you don't come out day one saying I'm the Recluse, because they're like, why won't you come out day one? Well, because I want to play that way. That's why. Let me play my way. Anyways, I'm getting heated over that. I'm going to leave it in an A tier, and we can figure it out. Will I move it? Probably not. I'll move things around if I need to. Let's go with Snitch. Why not Snitch? You already know. This is a D tier. It's literally nothing. All it does, this is, you want to talk about boring roles? This is way more boring than the Recluse. It's just, you give the minions 3 bluffs each, and that's it. First of all, low impact, because the demon already has 3 bluffs, right? And second of all, you don't do anything. It's not necessarily helping storytellers. You don't see this guy on scripts very much. And I'm not putting it in F tier because it's like, it's not annoying and aggravating to play with. So it'll just go in D tier. It literally does nothing. It's not fun to play. It's whatever, to be honest. Let's go ahead and look at Moonchild now. I'm gonna say C tier, low impact. My reasoning with Moonchild is, it's like, you die. First of all, I have a low opinion on those, and you'll see as we look through them, but I have a low opinion on Outsiders where you have to come out and be like, I'm the Moonchild and I pick blah. I'm claiming Klutz and I pick blah. Because it's so hard to like, it's a great bluff, but when you're actually the Moonchild and you're like a newer player, you're gonna forget, and then it's awkward for the storyteller to like, then if you, the storyteller will come around and say, well, if you have anything to announce before I execute you, Or before we go tonight, after you get executed, just let me know. Just say it out loud. It's so ridiculous. It's so awkward and ridiculous. Because it's like, what's the storyteller supposed to do? Just ignore the ability? And that's why I don't like seeing it on scripts very much. Because what, is the storyteller just going to end the game because a new player didn't realize? Or even an experienced player who just forgot? You know? Like, I'm not a big fan of those types of rules that require that from the player. As for, like, on a general standpoint, Moonchild just, like, picks and kills someone, or picks and doesn't kill someone, and then you don't know if maybe the Moonchild was poisoned on his on night or something. Who knows? Like, yes, it usually kills a good player. No, I don't think it matters that much, personally. Now, if you're killing it on, like, or executing Moonchild on, like, Final 5 or something, Final 4, like, what are we doing? What are we doing? That's on town. You know, you can still play around that, which is why I'm not putting it in its literally nothing, but it is low impact, in my honest opinion. Next up, Saint. Why not? I just saw it. I'm gonna put it in B tier. I think the Saints very often get to the final 3 for a reason, because it's a, like, oh, if we execute this person, the game's over and good loses. Like, we can't do that. So it's such a nice bluff for evil to skate by to the end. And then for the Saint, it's just like, I need to work so hard so that I get killed that night. Either by faking what I am and pretending to be a better role, or by being so good that the demon's like, oh, this guy's so socially good, we need to kill him. That's how I feel about Saint. I know it's kind of a do-nothing role, but because of its, like, ability, it makes you do something, even though the ability doesn't really do anything, if that makes sense. And that'll make more sense when I talk about the Damsel, but essentially it's the same thing, right? Because of what the role is, even if your ability doesn't necessarily do anything, you still have to play differently. You could just come out as Saint, but then you don't want to risk getting executed in Final 3 if you're not, like, actively playing well or as good. So I think it's good at being an outsider. It's an excellent bluff. It's an excellent, like, doing its outsider thing. And at the end of the day, it doesn't necessarily harm town either, which is why I'm not putting it any higher. Even though I'm singing its praises, and it doesn't have to harm town, in my opinion, but I feel like Saint is just a really, really, it's rather plain, and I'm just kind of rambling on it now. So I'll just leave it at that. Maybe I'll change its position, but right now that's how I feel about it. Let's look at, oh, you know what? I'll wait on Golem. Sweetheart. I'm going to put it at B tier. For some reason, I don't have much, I'm not high on Sweetheart. Sweetheart. Would I put it, I think I like Saint more. That's very big, I think. It's like another type of bluff in the same vein as Saint, where it's like if you execute it, something bad happens, except it's not as bad because the game doesn't literally end. Sweetheart is a bit like, I almost think it's low impact, but it's really not, because it does bring misinformation or make an ability just kaput. I just don't see it very often. I don't think it really helps storytellers. If you're using a Sweetheart for poisoning, it's like you're banking on it dying during or at some point to begin with, and then the poisoning starts, which is like kind of, there's a reason Vigor Mortis is not the best demon, you know? That's all I'm saying. That's all I am saying. So yeah, I actually, the more I talk about it, the more I feel good about B here. As for how playing as the Sweetheart, it's like, it's okay. Like, you don't have to play the same way you play a Saint. You can, but you kind of also don't want to say you're the Sweetheart. I don't know. I'm of a low opinion on Sweetheart, personally. And I don't think anything will... I'm a low opinion, but I do think it has higher impact than, like, a Moonchild. So we'll just leave it at B for now. Let's go to Ogre. Ogre. I'm going to put it in A tier. I think Ogre is an excellent bluff even as a good player, because you can go around saying, actually, I think I'm going to put it above Recluse, maybe. It's almost not an outsider, to be honest, but it definitely is, because if you pick an evil player as an Ogre, then you're like, you know, it's an extra evil vote, right? Anyways, Ogre, I think it's really fun to bluff as good or evil as anyone. Just go up to someone and be like, hey, I turned, I picked you last night on night 1. You're my player. You don't have to tell me you're evil, but like, if you want to, you can. I've done that before, and the demon just came out to me. I was like, yeah, I'm the demon. Here's my minion. It's just like, oh, wow. That game ended in one day, I'll tell you what. So I think that's why I have such a high opinion, because of that one game. It's pretty decent. As for storyteller purposes, in terms of bagging it, I think it's kind of whatever. If you want a way to convert someone to a different alignment, then Ogre might be it. I think one issue with Ogre is so many people put the Ogre with like a lot of other role characters that like change alignments or something, and I think that's just wrong. Just don't do that. But otherwise, yeah, Ogre is just pretty decent. And overall, it just ends up usually being an extra good vote that has no impact on how the game goes. So let's see. Oh, and an evil Ogre can also just lie and not say they're the Ogre to their person. Actually, even a good Ogre, because evil won't always come out. You just make up information to make sure your person is like good. Let's see. Let's look at the classic drunk. Honestly, I should be going by like by the scripts. Drunk, S tier. I hate to say it, because I don't know if I love it, but I think it's the ultimate storyteller tool, the drunk. One person doesn't know they're the drunk and they're getting misinformation. I think it's a great way to hide outsider count. I think in terms of fun playing it, well, you don't even know you're the drunk. You're just assuming you're an information role, which is going to inherently be fun. Has a huge impact on the game sometimes, depending on like who's the drunk and what their information or ability is. I don't see how drunk cannot be S tier here. So while I don't love it personally, I do still, I think, like it. And I love it as a tool for Clocktower to make it function, you know? And that's why you see drunk on a lot of scripts. Let's see. Drunk, Recluse, Saint. Where's the Butler? Butler! Alright. Butler is cabbage. It is so cabbage. This is very in line with what I was talking about with Moonchild, where it's just like but it's even worse than Moonchild and Klutz, because you have to pick a player and then align by their voting, and you could literally break the rule of your ability, otherwise the storyteller confirms you're the Butler. And not only that, but even when you're following like the ability as close as you can, if you vote thinking your like master's gonna vote, and then your master puts their hand down deciding to vote against it, it's like, great, the ability doesn't even function the way it's supposed to be functioning. I hate that about the Butler, and I almost never ever put Butler on scripts. Okay, first of all, if I'm making a script, I'm never putting Butler on it. If I'm if I'm like making a game of Trouble Brewing, bagging a game, I'll almost never put Butler in the bag because I think it's such a just terrible outsider in the way its ability functions, and just new players sometimes can't like grasp exactly how the ability works. And not only that, I actually forgot what I was gonna say. I had some other beef with Butler. Not fun, not really a great role in my opinion. It's most damaging in like final 3, I guess. I don't know. I hate Butler. We'll just leave it in F tier cabbage. Let's see, BMR. Who's in BMR? I don't remember who in... Oh, Tinker. Tinker's in BMR. This guy is low impact. I would say probably lower than Moonchild. Reason I say that is... See, okay, I've had this experience with Tinker recently. I put Tinker on a script, and then I realized, like, wait, you know, this Tinker doesn't actually, like... It was a script with multi-kill demons, is the thing. Multiple, like they were all multi-kill. And I realized, what doesn't matter? Either the Tinker died to its own ability or it died to the demon. But, like, it's kind of irrelevant in that nature. Specifically, I'll clarify. It was a little monster plus Yagababble. So even if it died during the day, it's like, oh, okay, it either died to its ability or the Yagababble, who cares? So that's why I'm kind of putting in low impact. It's only good on scripts like BMR, where not every demon is going to be multi-kill. You know, not every... and there's so many reasons for every... for a Tinker to die on that script. Which is why I'm putting it... You know, it's not literally nothing. It does... sometimes muddy the waters in terms of why someone may have died. I still think it's rather low impact though. Like, again, either killed by a demon or died at night to its own ability. Who cares? That's my take. Maybe a little wrong, but that's my take. Who else is on BMR? Lunatic. Yeah, Lunatic is that's gonna be an S tier. I think it is a wonderful storyteller tool, and I think it's even more fun to play. And I think it's really fun to realize you're the Lunatic. It can have a really big impact on the game, depending on how fooled the Lunatic is. Just someone thinking they're on the wrong team and voting on the wrong people that they wouldn't otherwise be voting on. It's so powerful as a tool. Storytellers can use Lunatic to hide outsiders as well, much like the Drunk. And I just think it's a really fun role. I love it. I don't have much else to say on Lunatic other than I think one thing storytellers don't do enough is really, really try to fool the Lunatic. Like, give them just other ways to make them think they're the demon, like exorcised, for example, or I don't know, give them a magician, a fake magician, you know, like give them, I don't know, poppy grower, you know, there are so many ways to make a Lunatic think they're the demon that I just can't think of at this very moment. Don't make them think they're Snake Charm, though, because then they no longer think they're the Snake Charmer, you know? I did that once early on in my career as a storyteller. And I kind of realized afterwards, oh, wait, if they think they get Snake Charm, then they don't think they're the Lunatic anymore. So, yeah, I love it. It's a great, fun role. Let's see. Klutz. Who else is on BMR? Klutz, Mutant. These are all SNV. Barber's on SNV. Did I already get all the BMR guys? Moonchild, Tinker, Lunatic. Is it Sweetheart? Am I just forgetting who the last... No, I think Sweetheart is SNV. Sorry, I'm getting a little distracted by, like, pretty much nothing. I just wish I could, remember. It's Goon. It's Goon. Goon! What's my take on Goon? I think Goon is, like, because it can drunk, much like the Sweetheart, it becomes evil, like the Ogre. Not only that, but it can drunk the evil team, even. But then it turns evil as a result. I'm gonna put it at top of B for now. Like I said, it messes with information or like an innkeeper or something. It can flip alignments, but it can flip back as well, unlike the Ogre. I wouldn't say it's as fun to play. Actually, maybe I'm gonna put it top of A. No, I don't know. My thing, it's a lot more pressure to play as the Goon because you can flip alignments at any time, and if you flip like on the very last day, and can sometimes be a bad time depending on where your like lies were going. As a Goon, I've never actually played as a Goon, but if I was the Goon, I'd probably start line from the start, just because I can't risk that. But the issue is if you get to final 3 and then you realize you're good and then come out, oh, I'm the Goon, by the way, then all town has to like go back through their information and be like, okay, was I drunk on this night? Like, what happened? Why is there misinformation here? And I kind of get aggravated by overdose of droisening sometimes myself, and I think this is a type of droisening that maybe is a little annoying. Maybe. Because like with a Sweetheart dies, and we know at what point the drunkening happened. With the drunk, it's from the start of the game, you know? Puzzle Master, start of the game, you know? So with the Goon, however, it's like, first of all, we don't even know who attached to the Goon from the start, or first, if anyone, and then having to figure that out on Final 3 is just so, at that point, my mind wants to blow up. And then if they're lying, it's like even worse. Yeah, I think from the bag, it's a little difficult from a storyteller perspective to put it in, or to put it on a script, because of how we can flip alignments. So it's, unless you can't have another alignment flipping, in my opinion, on that script. So, and that includes something like Philosopher, who can pick Goon. So that's kind of my take. It might be fun, it might not be fun. I'm not too sure. Impact on the game, kind of big. That's why I'm putting it at good at being an outsider. So yeah, we'll put Goon at B. Good at being an outsider. Let's do a S&B. Barber. I'm gonna put it in A tier, I think. It's pretty decent, but bottom of A tier. Reason being is seeing that I've had a game recently where a good player got switched with a Devil's Advocate. It was the Magician and the Devil's Advocate. And the Devil's Advocate thought they turned good because they became the Magician, but that's not how that worked. And so they came up to me and she was like, oh, I'm the Magician. I'm about to tell you who the demon is. And I had to stop her, and I was like, no, don't tell me who the demon is. That's not how that works. I felt too bad if I didn't tell her that she was still evil. And then right after, she came out and was like, anything he says is a fake story, you know how he is. And I'm just like, what? And no one believed me. And then it turns out there was a Barber. All I needed is either DA or the Barber to come out. Neither of them came out. Barber, because he thought I was making up the story and didn't trust me, even though he was hiding the fact that he was the Barber, is the thing. So no one knew he was the Barber. I didn't know there was a real Barber or not. And then the DA didn't come out because he thought he was evil. And he thought I was making up the story about how you wouldn't turn evil or whatnot. It was ridiculous. Sorry, all this to say, I think the Barber is a really fun role to see in game. It's really nice for evil to flip the demon around, switch the demon around. I mean, I think it's like, it doesn't really, I wouldn't say it's a very, it's fun to see in game. I don't know if it's fun to play as. It doesn't really change how you play. It's almost like the Snitch or Tinker or Moonchild in terms of how you play it. So that's why it's at the bottom of A, and it still kind of hurts town, even though it's an outsider, so it should be hurting town, but it also sometimes doesn't hurt town. I don't know. It's kind of funny. So we'll leave it at the bottom of A. That's my story. Klutz, again, low impact. It's gonna be with the same issues as Moonchild, where there shouldn't be a character who has to like do their own thing outside of the storyteller controlling things, picking a player after dying, and if they don't, you know, what does the storyteller do? It's so awkward. I'm putting it above Moonchild because it can end the game instantly. Otherwise, though, it does nothing, right? So, and like, sure, you can say, oh, that player's confirmed good. That's assuming you even believe the Klutz to begin with. So whatever. I don't need to speak on it too much. I don't think it's that fun either, even if there is pressure on picking a good player. And usually one player is going to read really good. Now, whether you're good at reading people, that's another thing entirely. But there's usually always, in my opinion, a player who reads especially good. Mutant, I'm going to put an A tier. S tier. Bottom of S tier, though. I think it's a really handy storyteller tool. I think, again, you'll see a common theme between the S tiers, but they're all outsiders that hide. However, you have to be careful with Mutant, because if you put it on a script with like no other madness or no other thing that causes execution or whatnot, like no Cerenovus, for example, and then Mutant just like, hey, I'm the Mutant, by the way, and then gets executed just on day one, like, okay, now we have a confirmed, essentially a virgin, right? That being said, the storyteller doesn't have to execute the Mutant, but I find, you know, storytellers who are less experienced storytellers tend to just execute the Mutant because they want to follow the ability, because that's what the ability is. But that's turning it into a townsfolk at that point rather than what it's supposed to be, an outsider. I would just not execute them, let them claim Mutant, and then people not doubt them more and more every day. But again, I think it's really neat in the builder, in the script building, and the bag building, because it really muddles information when the Mutant is trying to play as the Mutant. So yeah, S tier, maybe very high, but I personally love it. Let's go through the rest of them. Plague Doctor, I'm gonna put low impact. Yes, storyteller gets a minion ability. Probably right here. Storyteller gets a minion ability, but so what? Like, okay, great. Someone gets the Scarlet Woman ability. Someone gets the Boom Dandy ability. Who cares? I don't find it that... It's kind of dependent on the script as well, on what the minions are, but my opinion doesn't really... It's not a big deal. And people who are the Plague Doctor, they think, oh my gosh, I gotta, like, not die. You're free to die, man. We'll solve this game regardless of the minion ability. That's my take. I don't think it's that impactful. Maybe I can, honestly, I'm totally open to being disagreed with on that point, though. Hatter. I'm thinking low impact as well. Maybe top, though. Top of C. Low impact. It's, it'd be annoying with the demon switching around, with the minions switching around to other minions. It's more so the demon specifically. If the demon switches to a different demon when you think you've figured it out, it's really, really much of a hassle. Much like the Pit Hag, for example. Even though that's kind of different, Having the demon switch from one thing where you've already solved it to another just kind of breaks it sometimes. But I often find that it's not that big a deal. In fact, I would say it's rare for that to happen, where the demon switch or the minion switch is like so bad for good that it's truly an outsider. Otherwise, if it happened more often, I put it in B, maybe even A. But because of its just dependence on the script and dependence on like when the Hatter dies, because if it dies too late, it won't matter. If it dies too early, it also won't matter. So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with Hatter. Let's see. Yeah, let's do Hermit. I think Hermit is actually going to be the new king of the sea low impact tier. Because it could be like... It's like more of a fun outsider than a true outsider. I don't think it's that fun. I think it's kind of maybe a little lazy to put on a script. I don't really think... I think if you're putting it on the script, it's for the purpose of making the script fun rather than the purpose of making the script good. But I guess a fun script is a good script. I don't know. Just combining the other outsiders into one. I don't know. I think it's really annoying when it's combined with a drunk too, because it's like, why do we have two drunks? Oh my god. There better be no poisoning. Nope, there's a poisoner and an Odashi. Great. Don't follow any information. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Hermit in terms of just what it does. I think it's more impactful than low impact, but just from the perspective of how much I like it and perspective of like when it gets put on a script or bag, I think it bumps it down to C. Let's see, Puzzle Master, that's an A tier. In fact, I'm gonna put it top of A tier. That's a guy where, first of all, you know someone's drunk, and then if you figure it out, you find the demon immediately, which is insane. And it's not the hardest thing to figure out. Now, if the Puzzle Master dies before they can get their guess in and figure it out, then tragic, right? Unfortunate. But otherwise, I feel like the Puzzle Master is just so kind of... It's almost S tier. It might be bottom of S. No, it still drunks someone, and oftentimes I find Puzzle Masters get killed off anyway before they can get their guess in, so it's like, whatever. No, if you purposely guess incorrectly, then you could be like, oh, I know someone who's not the demon, right? That's nice. That is really nice. Otherwise, if you get it correct, you get the demon. Actually, I think I will put it bottom of A. Actually, I think I'm going to put it above Mutant. Sorry, and I'm bottom of C, but above Mutant, actually. Yeah. S. Oh my gosh, I love it. Sorry. Okay, we'll skip these four. Let's go to Zealot. It's literally nothing, but it's not as bad as a Snitch. Just raise your hand every vote, who cares? And then it's not fun to play. It doesn't really... I don't know what scripts would want a Zealot. If you're putting a Zealot on a script, it's usually a lack of other outsiders to put on said script that you would want. It's like, oh, let's just throw in a Zealot. Whatever, sure. And again, it's the same issue as Butler, by the way, just not as bad. Whatever, I'm not going to continue on my beef with that. I digress. Let's move on to Politician. Politician is good at being an outsider. I'm going to put it at right under Goon, but in between Goon and Saint. It's a good player who aligns himself with evil to try to win the game. The reason I'm putting it below Goon, and in fact, below A tier, is because I find storytellers give the politician the win way too often when they're not that impactful. I think it's kind of like against the spirit of how the ability should be played. Like, no, politicians should be punished for not playing, like not truly being the most impactful on the win for an evil team. And I get it's for fun and whatnot, but then for future games, it lets future politicians be like, I just have to do one thing and the storyteller will give it to me as a freebie or whatnot. It's just like, and that just makes the game more sour for everyone else, because now this politician isn't like ever going to flip to being good if they think they're not going to get the win with evil, which I think should be what, like, how a politician works. It's like, if you're not being the best evil player, you better switch to good. Whatever. I have some beef with that. And in terms of putting it in the bag, just don't put it with other, like a Goon or an Ogre or a Zealot, you know. It's probably a very fun character to play, too. Probably more fun than the Goon. But again, my beef with it is just the way it's run, which is why I'm putting it lower. Golem is the outsider that lots of people say is like basically a townsfolk. I'm gonna disagree with that take. I'm gonna put it in B tier, good at being an outsider, but I'm gonna put it at the top of B, I think. No, I'm gonna put it below politician, between Saint though. The reason being, Golem has the same issue as Zealot, Butler, Moonchild, Klutz, where it has to, like, they can't nominate anymore. But if they do nominate, you kind of have to ignore it. And that's, like, kind of a shame as a storyteller. It's kind of awkward. And I don't know, I don't think it's that strong of a role either, like people calling in a townsfolk like it is. Because, one, you kill a good player, and then you can't nominate anymore, so you get left alive to final 3. And if it's 2 evils, then it's like game over. So I can't justify Golem being A tier or higher. And I can't, from a, like, its ability perspective and from a storyteller's perspective, it's a little bit of micromanaging, annoying to run. So yeah, we'll leave it in the middle of B. Damsel, this is going to be an S tier. In fact, it's going under the Lunatic, above the Puzzle Master. Actually, I'm moving it down. The reason that it's so high is because it is my personal favorite outsider. I think it is the most fun outsider to have on a script. That being said, I think it is a little difficult to find a good script to put it on. I think it's a little... I'm going to move it down, actually. While I think it's the funnest role of the Outsiders, it is a bit... because of the way it warps, like, how you have to play the game. I think a bad Damsel can kind of sour the game for everyone. I had a game recently. There was a husband and wife in the circle. The husband was a minion. The wife was the Damsel, and she was a terrible liar. The husband figured it out immediately and took a few days before making the guess when she was about to get killed. It was really sad. Really, really sad. So sometimes it feels kind of like it drains the life out of the game. Yeah. But I do think it's fun just because of the way you can play around it. Even when it's like, if you're a good player, you see it on the script, you don't know if it's in the game or not. You can just say you're, come out and say you're the Damsel or you're the Huntsman or something. Damsel should be put on a script with the Huntsman, by the way. Should not be separate. But I digress. I just think it's a really fun role. And then Hermit, no, not Hermit, Heretic. This is F tier cabbage, and I hate it. It's my least favorite role, maybe in the game. Maybe in the entirety of the game. Definitely out of the Outsiders, but the reason I hate it so much, it's just so... the way it makes you have to play the game differently is so much worse than someone like the Damsel. The way it flips it entirely. Because... I don't know, if the demon finds out, they self-kill. And then if there's an evil player bluffing as an heretic, you know, it's kind of annoying to play around that. How do you figure out if someone's lying about the heretic outside of social cues, right? Like, what if the information doesn't help, like, go for or against it? I think I've never liked the role. I think it's just not fun, okay? It's not fun. It has a super high impact on the game. I don't think it actually serves a purpose when putting it in a script or the bag. Maybe on the script, it might have, like, impact on how people are playing. Definitely. But it's just not fun. That's the main reason it's so low. As high impact as it is, I just hate it. That's my, do I want to switch anything around? No, I think I'm happy with where everything went. That's my tier list. Let me know if you agree or disagree. I know maybe I can have a hot take with, like, Golem being so low, Damsel being so high, Heretic being so low, you know. Maybe my low impact is incorrect. I don't know. Point is, this is my tier list based off a generalized conception of all these guys. And I'll do probably the other 4 character types in the future. Otherwise, that's it.